Ryan Schultz here from E39 Source. Welcome back. Not too long of a video today. It's about a 94-degree late June day here in Escondido, California at E39 Source World Headquarters. But I wanted to get a good look and kind of tour and service description of this beautiful early facelift March 07 production 2008 model year E60 M5. Finished in Sepang Bronze Metallic, not a common color at all. This is one of 2 or 3 Sepang M5s I've ever seen before. And we've had this car for a while. We've done a lot of work to this vehicle, brought it a long way. This thing was towed in here a few months ago now, and the work scope has just increased and increased and increased. But we've got pretty much a flawless running, driving mechanically car here. So I mentioned an early facelift. The 08 facelift happened really early. It's a March 07 car. It's a Sepang interior as well. This thing was towed in here on a flatbed with an SMG failure. It turned out to be the throwout bearing in the SMG had pretty much detonated, and that was not allowing the transmission to shift to neutral, which causes a no start issue. We also found codes in the DME regarding the idle and throttle actuators, so we've done that on this car as well, and that's becoming a more and more common E60 M5 and E90, E92, E93 M3 service as well with that S65 V8. Those are the motors and actuators inside the valley of the engine that are responsible for actuating all 8, or in this case 10, throttle valves, one for each cylinder. The idle actuators take care of things below 3,000 RPM. Above 3,000 RPM, you'll find that the throttle actuators themselves kick in and actually open those beautiful butterfly valves on the throttles. So we replaced all 4 of those actuators, some vent hoses, some PCV valves, kind of anything that you need to do while you're in there. It's a big job. It involves removing the upper intake manifold, well, the only intake manifold on the S85. And the wiring harness comes out of the way, and finally once you get down in the valley it's not so bad, but you've got a few hours to get there. And we did the cabin and engine air filters, just little things. When we have all that apart, it just makes sense to do that. We had missing hardware. Everybody misses those Torx, what are they, Torx 20s in there, so we just keep those things on stock and put them in. But really the big transformation with this car is regarding the transmission. The SMG is gone, thank God, making this car significantly more reliable, significantly more fun to drive, and significantly more valuable. This is manual conversion. I'm losing track. I've got 4 more back there in the works right now in the shop. So this may be, let's call it number 6. And this one took some time. The parts are getting a little harder to get from Germany, but it's all here. There are no trouble codes. Absolute joy to drive this car with 6-speed manual. And this is our first LCI, or our first facelift model that we've done with the manual. It's a little bit different. See, the LCI cars, oh, and check this out. We've got soft closed doors. Love that feature. I'll turn the fan down even though I wish I could keep it higher. So the LCI, or the facelift cars, replaced your traditional row of buttons, your heated seat, cooled seat, etc. They did away with that, and they gave us this kind of stacked buttons. And this car has a couple options on it. It's got the soft closed doors, it's got the heads-up display. We don't have sunshades in the back. I think we do have split folding seats maybe. It's hard to tell with like 4 of these back there, but this was definitely a bit of a challenge in comparison to the 06 and 07 model year cars. So these buttons here for parking sensors, for heated seats, cooled seats if you have it, active seats if you have it, and then your traction control button here. These are purely buttons. There's like 3 wires that plug into each one of these switches, and 2 of them are purely for illumination. These buttons glow orange at night. The other wire is a logic wire that reports to the actual, it's called the A169 SCM panel, and that lives way back up under the dash behind your fuse carrier up on the firewall. And that is what processes all of the logic that these buttons are doing and what each button means. So with the conversion, we replace a button that used to be here for your tire pressure monitoring. That's redundant. This button is not needed. Your tire pressure can be monitored and set from inside the iDrive menus, somewhere in there if you have the time to find that. We do away with that on the manual, and this should be an MDM button, but we found a more affordable way to do that. It just changes it to DTC, which is dynamic traction control. So as I push that button, you'll see the MDM mode toggle on and off on the instrument cluster. If we press and hold that button, we'll see the full defeat of the DSC system, allowing you to be extremely irresponsible. So essentially what we found, and I've got to give another big thanks to Alex from Long Beach from M5 Board. We just had to move a few pins around. It's a lot of disassembly, take the glove box out and fuse carrier and whatnot, dig back in there, move a few pins around, and what we do is essentially reprogram this button in this position. Instead of being our tire button, it becomes the traction button. And then we do some more pinning over at the ABS module. But it's a complete factory conversion yet again. We're still able to get the parts at the moment, even though it is taking a bit more time. We use the 545i short shift lever in here. It's not quite as short as the E39 shifts maybe, but it's a fantastic feeling shifter. This transmission is really exquisite. It's probably a better model than what the E39 uses. We replaced that tray up front, just like the earlier cars, with one that includes our EDC button. It's just kind of a different tray in the 08 Plus. And they made a few changes to the center console here that make it a little bit more stable. With the SMG 06s and 07s, and remember that's what the E60 M5 was only ever supposed to have, there's only a few screws holding in the console, and they're hidden here below the shift boot, which you'll also notice is a different shape. The 06 and 07s have more of a quarter round, and this is a little bit more angular. So it's a different shifter, different shift knob and boot assembly here that we're still able to get. This is not the genuine BMW part, but it does illuminate red at night. It does fit right in. It's high quality leather. And I'm actually able to wire these illuminated shifters now to be pretty much just like factory. If you pop this boot up here, the shifter itself has a white electrical connector that plugs into a connector from the car. There's no cuts, there's no splices, there's no crimps. It is a plug and play solution for the shifter. We just repurposed an old harness, changed out the actual electrical connector on the harness, reused the wiring, and it's only a 2-pole connector. We have a switched 12-volt line. There's our nice red color, and of course a ground wire as well. Other than that, we really didn't encounter too many changes with the 2008 Plus M5. All the wiring in the DME box, the wiring regarding the transmission, all of that just applies straight over from the 06s and 7s that we've done more of at this point. As you've noticed, this is a 96,182 mile car, so it's pretty young for an 08. First set of rod bearings are due, maybe a little overdue at this point. I know that's on his list. And we talked about the throttle and idle actuators, and really those are the big things in addition to the SMG that need to be sorted on these cars. So we'll see the Sepang interior continue into the back. It's really just kind of a cream beige. It's not like sand beige at all that was in the E39 or the E46. You get nice black trims on the rear of the seats. Being an 08 car, it does have the USB and auxiliary up in the console. And speaking of the console, this is not the original center console for this car. This is a black one. In my opinion, touch points like door handles and center consoles, shift knobs and boots, all of these things should be black. They wear so much better, they hold up so much better. And personally, I prefer the contrast with the rest of the interior. And thankfully on the E60 they did use black carpeting, black mats. As I said, the black on the seats, black on the upper door panels, and the full dash is black. So to me, the console just adds that much more contrast in here while you still get to maintain the nice color on the seats. We did brakes all the way around this car. Pads and rotors, they were all original. Flushed out the brake fluid, changed the coolant. Just really a full service. My client hasn't owned this car too terribly long, so this was a great opportunity to give everything a really healthy look over and refresh in terms of fluids and filters. And I've, per customer request, personally driven the car for several days, put some miles on it, and it's running absolutely beautiful. There's no trouble codes coming back of any substance. We have a fogging sensor in the IHKA, which is par for the course on these. But this is one happy M5 ready to drive a lot of miles. And I'll miss having a Sepang car around here. I'd have people come back in the shop and say, wow, what is that color? Yeah, it's Sepang Bronze. This is a E60 M5 and the M6, and you could get it on the Z4M as well. So really cool car. I want to thank Carlos for the business. We've been working together for a while. I'm about to get his E39 in here. I'm going to shut his hood, keep that air conditioning blowing cold, and get him on his way. I know he's just beyond excited to get some miles on this thing now as a 6-speed manual car. So thanks for watching. We've got more conversions coming. I'll definitely make some videos on those. We've got a really, really rare, very late model E60 M5 in the background now undergoing the conversion. I can't wait to share that car as well. Thanks again for watching. Leave me some comments. We'll talk in the next E39 Source video. Happy summer.